Hello there, and welcome to the Yellow Submarine. Did you know there was an ongoing and subtle rivalry between Paul and John? Don't worry, we will be going into full details here. Before we go on, please hit the subscribe button and put on your post notifications bell. Lennon and Paul McCartney wrote some of the most iconic songs ever recorded. As member of the Beatles, they rose to insane heights as performers, only to continue their legacy as solo acts afterward. But it turns out those songs were sometimes used for more than just performance, and some had hidden meaning attached. Lennon and McCartney met at a local church fete in 1957, where Lennon was performing with a skiffle group called the Quarrymen. After Macca impressed Lennon with his guitar stylings, he was invited to join the Quarrymen, and soon they brought along their friends to listen to their new song performances, inviting mates such as Nigel Walley and future Beatle George Harrison. Speaking to Playboy in 1980, Lennon spoke fondly of his bond with McCartney and their writing. He said, "Paul McCartney provided a lightness, an optimism, while I would always go for the sadness, the discords, the bluesy notes. There was a period when I thought I didn't write melodies, that Paul wrote those, and I just wrote straight, shouting rock and roll." But of course, when I think of some of those songs in my life, or some of the early stuff, this boy, I was writing melodies with the best of them. The pair used this medium to communicate a great deal of their feelings about the world and, as it turns out, about each other. When the Beatles broke up in 1970, though the band did not formally split up until 1974, all the band members released solo albums. In 1971, McCartney released his second album, Ram, in the follow-up to his debut solo album, and included his wife Linda McCartney in the songs. In the song, Too Many People, McCartney took some very clear digs at Lennon, especially with the lines, "Too many people preaching practices," and "You took your lucky break and broke it in two." Speaking to Mojo in 2001, Macca said, "It's nothing, it's so harmless really, just little digs. But the first line is about too many people preaching practices. I felt John and Yoko were telling everyone what to do, and I felt we didn't need to be told what to do. The whole tenor of the Beatles thing had been, like, to each his own. Freedom. Suddenly it was, you should do this. It was just a bit of wagging finger, and I was pissed off with it. So that one got to be a thing about them." Extra to this, McCartney also claimed to have mocked Lennon and Ono in a full-page advertisement in the musical press, where they were shown wearing clown costumes and wrapped in a bag. Lennon noticed this and wrote a response song, How Do You Sleep, on his 1971 album, Imagine. The song is angry and scathing about McCartney, and included some not-so-kind lyrics. Lennon spoke to the urban legend that Macca died and was replaced with a lookalike, singing, "So Sgt. Pepper took you by surprise. You better see right through that mother's eyes. Those freaks were right when they said you were dead. The one mistake you made was in your head." The singer also marked McCartney's songwriting, singing, "The only thing you did was yesterday, and since you've gone, you're just another day." He continued to mock McCartney by calling his work Muzak, saying his fame will not last. Brian May, on Queen's Influences, Lennon added, "A pretty face may last a year or two, but pretty soon, they'll see what you can do. The sound you make is music to my ears. You must have learned something in all those years." However, despite this bad blood which bubbled up, even leading to Lennon writing an angry letter to Macca and his wife Linda, it is believed the pair eventually patched things up in a surprise jam session in 1974. It has been reported that while Lennon was separated from Ono and living with his girlfriend May Pang, McCartney and his wife Linda surprised them at a recording studio in LA. The pair started jamming, reportedly also with Stevie Wonder present, and though it was only a step forward, by 1980, Lennon said of McCartney, "He's like a brother. I love him." After Lennon's death, there were reports of McCartney attempting to reverse the songwriting credits for several Beatles songs from Lennon-McCartney to McCartney-Lennon. He entered into a dispute with Ono, who inherited Lennon's wealth and certain musical rights, along with his son Sean. However, in 2003, McCartney declared, "I'm happy with the way it is, and always has been. Lennon and McCartney is still the rock and roll trademark I'm proud to be a part of, in the order it has always been." According to McCartney, there was a sense of competitiveness with Lennon, but this rivalry was very necessary to the band's success. In the book, McCartney explains that when Lennon first heard the 1980 song Coming Up, he was inspired to create what would be his last album, Double Fantasy. "I saw a John documentary and somebody was saying, I brought this record of Paul's to John and played it for him. John went, oh fucking hell, the bastard's done something good. I've gotta work. I love the idea of forcing him off his arse." McCartney is quick to dispel any rumors of ill will between the two, describing the competition between the two as friendly. Either way, their partnership has provided us with some legendary songs, including Yesterday, which holds the record for the most covered song by any artist. The friendly rivalry between Lennon and McCartney continued right up until Lennon's untimely death in 1980. McCartney's 1982 song, Here Today, was written as a tribute to Lennon in the form of a conversation the duo might have had if Lennon were still alive. McCartney says the song still makes him emotional from time to time. In 2004, he told The Guardian, "At least once a tour, that song gets me. I'm singing it, and I think I'm okay, and I suddenly realize it's very emotional. And John was a great mate and a very important man in my life, and I miss him, you know?" They had a friendly rivalry because each had superb musicianship, songwriting abilities, creativity, ability to write lyrics, performance ability, voices, and love for music. Later, sometimes things would break down due to differences of opinion about music, song arrangements, song choices, politics, worldview, and other matters. Also, John's heavy use of heroin became a big factor in sometimes dividing Paul and the others from John. Paul's attempts to manage the group in the studio became another factor that split Paul from the rest as time went on. Lennon released his first solo studio album, John Lennon Plastic Ono Band, in December 1970. It features the track God, in which the singer-songwriter declared, "I don't believe in Beatles, I just believe in me." McCartney said he wasn't impressed. "John was firing missiles at me with his songs, and one or two of them were quite cruel," he explained. "I don't know what he hoped to gain, other than punching me in the face. The whole thing annoyed me." John would say things like, "It was rubbish. The Beatles were crap. Also, I don't believe in the Beatles. I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe in God." Those were quite hurtful barbs to be flinging around, and I was the person they were being flung at, and it hurt. So I'm having to read all this stuff, and on one hand, I'm thinking, oh, fuck off. You fucking idiot. McCartney continued. But on the other hand, I was thinking, why would you say that? Are you annoyed with me, or are you jealous, or what? And thinking back 50 years later, I still wonder how he must have felt. McCartney wondered if the losses Lennon endured early on in life influenced how he responded to the band's breakup. He'd say, "My dad left home when I was 3, and my mother got run over and killed by an off-duty policeman outside the house. And my Uncle George died. Yeah, I'm bitter," wrote McCartney. John always had a lot of that bluster though. It was his shield against life. We'd have an argument about something, and he'd say something particularly caustic. Then I'd be a bit wounded, and he'd pull down his glasses and peer at me and say, "It's only me, Paul. That was John. It's only me." "Oh, all right. You've just gone and blustered, and that was somebody else, wasn't it?" It was the shield talking. In response, McCartney also turned to music. It was the 1970s equivalent of what we might today call a diss track, said McCartney. Songs like this, where you're calling someone out on their behavior, are quite commonplace now, but back then, it was a fairly new genre. According to the outlet, McCartney jabbed Lennon on Too Many People, which was featured in his second solo disc, 1971's Ram. "That was me saying basically, you've made this break, so good luck with it," said McCartney. But it was pretty mild. It was all a bit weird and a bit nasty, and I was saying, let's be sensible. We had a lot going for us in the Beatles, and what split us up is the business stuff. And that's pathetic, really. So let's try and be peaceful. Let's maybe give peace a chance. Lennon fired back with the more nuclear, How Do You Sleep?, in which the slide guitar was played by George Harrison. Revealing, isn't it? What do you guys think about this friendly rivalry here? We'll leave it to you to decide who got the upper hand here. And hit the subscribe button for more in-depth information on your favorite band. Thank you, and see you later.